Braille. If you looked at it at a glance, you wouldn't think it was an incredible form of written communication. And even if you did recognise it as a form of communication, you might even think it's associated with spies. But in reality, it's a 200-year-old form of written communication designed for one purpose and one purpose only, for the blind. And it allows blind people to do things that those with sight take for granted, for example, communicating with each other, handling personal things such as medical appointments. It even allows them to play games. A few examples of Braille board games are Braille chess, Scrabble, and even dominoes are all have Braille versions. Even such popular toys as Lego also has their own versions in multiple languages. But not many people will know where Braille's origins came from. So join me in this video as I tell the story of the origins of Braille. Around the year 1809, a boy named Louis, or Louis, depending on your pronunciation, it's spelled Louis, but I'm going to call him Louis, was born in France. Little did his parents know that the little boy Louis would make the history books before he was the age of 20. In 1819, Louis began to lose his sight, and his parents decided to send him to the Royal Institute for Blind Youth. A couple years later, in 1821, he'd meet a man that would change his life forever. The man's name? Charles Barber, and he was a captain in Napoleon's army. Barber had come to the institute not on the business of, army business, but he had come to demonstrate his own language for the blind, called night writing. Night writing was a silent coded system designed to allow soldiers to send messages and orders on the battlefield at night, hence the name night writing. Night writing consists of dots and dashes. Although it was used by Napoleon's army, Barber maintains it was never designed for that purpose. Charles Barber makes it clear in his 1815 book that he designed the night writing system of dots and dashes specifically for the blind, not for the army's purpose. But I do suppose allowing coded messages to be sent silently at night is better suited, and it probably allows more people to learn the system, and it helps to refine systems like that. I had a good go trying to figure out what Barber's inspiration was, because we know what the inspiration for Braille is, but couldn't find anything on night writing. However, I do suspect it's probably got a lot to do with what was happening in the region over a 40-year period, and since Charles was in the army, there's a good chance of where he was prior to 1815. 17 years before the release of Charles Barber's book in 1815, Napoleon's army invaded Egypt. This led to sort of Egypt mania across the institutes of Europe, and the race to solve the hieroglyphic mysteries. However, hieroglyphs, like much ancient writing, is carved. However, not all of Egyptian hieroglyphs were carved out. A number of reliefs from ancient Egypt, walls, temples, they had something called reduced backgrounds, where the item of the subject, such as a figure or a hieroglyph, was in fact raised, where the background had been reduced instead of the symbol. I suspect that this Egypt mania with Europe and the world at this time, and the race to solve this, and the amount of people who were travelling to Egypt from Napoleon's army and such, may have given Barber some inspiration, as instead of being able to read, they can read the writing, they can't read the hieroglyphs, but they can feel them. This maybe gave Barber some ideas for how he could create a form of writing that can be read but not seen, using dots and symbols. Regardless of what Charles Barber's inspiration was, there is one thing that's certain. Louis did try to learn night writing. However, he felt it was overcomplicated. So Louis set out to make a less complicated version. The first thing that Louis did was he got rid of the dashes. He also halved the number of dots used in night writing, which is 12. He reduced it from 12 to 6, in 2 columns of 3. By 1824, Louis had found 63 ways to put these dots into a cell, as he called them. And the cells are as small as a fingertip. And at the time, in 1824, Louis was just 15 years old. And these 63 ways that he had found to put all these different dots in a single cell allowed him to cover the entire alphabet. Of course, once that last thing was done, there was one last thing. He had to name it. So he decided to use his last name, Braille. The inventor of Braille, Louis Braille, had completely created a brand new written language to help blind people. A language that is still with us today and is used around the world. However, it wasn't always like that. In fact, there was quite a bit of pushback when Braille first existed. However, again, with the way the world was at that time, I think something that may have led to countries or people accepting that they can read without having to see the letters, or read something that seems like seems unlike any other language. Maybe in something that happened roughly 20 years later. 20 years later, another Frenchman with the last name Champollion cracked the Rosetta Stone, allowing the ability to read at least 2 more ancient languages. With this spreading over Europe, this may have contributed to helping to spread Louis Braille's new system. However, today Braille is a massive subject, and over 200 years is a lot of time. Even if you're watching this video and you were just curious about what Braille is, and you've probably thought, I've never had contact with that. If you're a fully sighted person, or you don't have any connection to sight impaired people, or you just have never thought of looking for it, what if I told you, especially in the UK, that you've probably held something that has Braille on it? Have you ever walked around the supermarket and stopped at the medicine aisle? Most of the cardboard cases on medicine these days, especially in the UK, have Braille on them, such as paracetamols and other over-the-counter medications have Braille on the front of them, meaning that even if you don't read Braille or you're not connected with anyone with a sight impairment, you still interact with Braille probably at least once a week. And this shows that Braille has taken its place in the world alongside standard written languages. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave me a like, and I look forward to releasing a ton more videos this year. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!